Hey everybody, and welcome back to Your Golden Buddha. Today we're going to be talking about the new operating system that we want to navigate our lives. So when we become a new person, you can't just think your way into it. You have to become someone different. And all of that begins with awareness. And our subconscious beliefs, how we're primed by life, is what dictates this. And so there's a study actually done a few years ago at Yale where someone stopped and asked someone else to hold a cup of coffee. Now the cup of coffee was either cold or hot. And a few minutes later, that person who's asked to hold the cup of coffee was then asked to watch a video. And they said, hey, we'll pay you $20 to watch this video and we'll have 3 questions for you at the end. Now, the main premise of this was to understand how people would view the person in that video. Now, what's interesting is there was an overwhelming tendency of people who held the cold cup of coffee to say that person was cold, demeaning, condescending, all of these negative traits. Whereas the people who held the hot cup of coffee all were saying positive things about the person. They were saying they were happy, content, they were kind, all these wonderful things. And so that just goes to show how our subconscious lens is altered, how we're primed by life. In this case, simply holding either cold or hot coffee completely dictated how the person would view that individual. And so to better understand our subconscious beliefs and how we're primed by the world, I created something called the belief snapshot, and it was to help me understand how I was viewing things around me. So the way it works is you ask yourself a question with a fill in the blank. So you can say something like, today I feel blank, or my job makes me feel blank, or my partner makes me feel blank. Now the premise of this is to set your subconscious mind up with a question, a premise. It's to fill in that blank with the first thing that pops into your mind. Now, for so long with a chronic illness, I would wake up and say, wow, today I feel horrible. And throughout the rest of the day, that's exactly what my mind would be looking for. It'd be looking for reasons why I don't feel good. It'd be looking at the migraines, the aches, the pains, all of that. But I realized I'm just filtering my own reality. And so as I became aware of this, using the belief snapshot, I was able to see that I could actually substitute those things and essentially gaslight myself into believing something better. So when I wake up in the morning now, I say, I feel terrific. And so rather than immediately looking for reasons to contradict that, I start looking for reasons why that's the case. I wake up, I feel terrific. And I'll start thinking about how I'm excited to go see friends later, or I'm excited about a project I'm working on. The trick with this tool is you just fill in the first thing that comes to your mind. Don't overthink it, just what's the first thing that makes sense to you. And you're not judging the answer, you're naming it. You're bringing it to light. But in doing this, it gives you the opportunity to rewire the story you're telling yourself. And all change begins with awareness. So once you have that awareness, once you bring it into the spotlight, all of a sudden you can start changing it to something that you prefer. So rather than getting frustrated at your partner for loading the dishwasher wrong, you're going to focus on how they actually loaded the dishwasher. You're going to focus on the little things that they've done well for you. Now it's up to you if you want to make yourself more miserable or happy in life, but this is one way to bring that awareness to the forefront, and then you can make the necessary changes from there. And this is the first step in a new operating system. It's awareness, choice, and then repetition. All you need to do is practice seeing through a new lens. Now, once you become aware of your subconscious beliefs, you need to become aware of how you're operating in the world, how you're navigating through life. Awareness opens the door, embodiment walks you through it. But change doesn't happen from knowing better. It happens from rehearsing better. So as you go through life, you're going to notice the areas where you're more miserable, you're less confident, you doubt yourself more. And odds are there's physiological changes to your body when that happens. But the thing is, with awareness, you can also show up how you want to. So if you notice that you're self-doubtful, you're not confident in what you're doing, take a look at your posture, take a look at how you're moving through the world. If you're hunched over and talking quietly and avoiding eye contact, it's not going to be a very confident posture. Your mind takes cues from your body. So if you stand tall, you sit with good posture, shoulders are back, you're open to the world, your body's going to be more receptive to that. It's going to be thinking, okay, we're safe, we can be confident in what we're doing, and we can move forward from there. So for me, one of the toughest things has been, how do I not act like someone with a chronic illness? And the first step for me was realizing that person isn't going to be thinking about their illness, their symptoms all day long. A healthy person is just going to go about their life. And so I started focusing less on how I was feeling, and I started thinking more about how I wanted to feel. I was telling my brain what to expect. And so with that, say I'm out in the golf course and typically I'd get tired after a few swings and I'd have to go sit down or lay down in my car. Now instead, when I'm out there, I'm telling myself how grateful I am to be out there, how fun it is to hit golf balls, how relaxed and calm I feel. And although the change has been minute, each time I go out there, I feel a little bit different. And what's incredible is when I'm out there and I'm not saying these things to myself, all of a sudden I notice how bad I feel. All of a sudden I'm like, wow, I am tired. But then I realize, hey, let's change how this feels. Let's stand taller. Let's feel confident. How would that healthy person hitting golf balls feel? Would they be excited about being outside, or would they be thinking about how tired they are, how exhausted they are, even if it's a gorgeous day out? And so by changing how I'm thinking, changing how I'm then moving my body, all of a sudden my life changes and how I navigate my life does too. And what I've noticed is I can hit golf balls for longer, and at the end, when typically I'd crash and I'd have to spend the next couple days in bed, now all of a sudden I come back, I do some breathing exercises, all the while I'm telling myself how fun that was and how easy that was. But what's interesting is now my body isn't reacting as strongly to being outside or hitting golf balls or moving as much, whereas before it could have left me bedridden for days, weeks, or even months. And so becoming the person that you want to be begins with embodying that individual. Walk taller, act bigger. Ask yourself, what would a confident person do here? What would a healthy person do here? What would a loving person, what would a compassionate, kind person do here? Just start asking what the version of you want to become would actually be doing in this situation. And so you're not just rewiring thoughts, but you're rewiring your identity. And you're not waiting for the evidence, you're becoming the evidence. And I think for so long, I struggled with this because one of the things was I couldn't imagine being something greater than I was right now. I couldn't imagine what that healthy person would be like. 15 years with a chronic illness, you forget what real health feels like. You forget what it's like to not spend months of your life in bed. You forget what it's like not to be in pain or to be depressed or anxious or whatever it is. And so one of the toughest challenges for me was, how do I embody something that I haven't been before? And the key is to act greater than you feel. And we've discussed this a little bit about that study done in 1979 where some gentlemen were asked to go on this retreat for 1 week, and they were told to pretend like it was 20 years earlier. Now, these were some elderly gentlemen in their 70s and 80s, but they were told to pretend like it was the 50s. And so when they did this, they were told to pretend like they were 20 years younger, and they lived like it too. They embodied it. And you see, that's the coolest thing. During this time, they didn't have any mirrors. All the magazines, music, everything was like it was in the 50s. And over time, they started to believe that they were really younger. They were living that version of their younger selves. But we can do this with our own lives. And what's so interesting is their bodies responded. It wasn't just their minds. Their bodies followed suit. Our physiology and our brain power are extremely connected. And so not only did they look younger and feel younger, they also scored higher on intelligence tests. Their muscle strength increased, their joint flexibility was better. Everything from a physiological standpoint and a mental standpoint was better. And it was all because they were pretending to be 20 years younger. They were pretending to feel better than they were. And so I took this to heart and I was like, okay, so how do I apply this to my own life? Because obviously I've had trouble thinking greater than I feel. And so one of the first places I did that was obviously my health. And so what I did when I woke up in the morning, rather than focusing on how bad I felt, I would start telling myself how good I feel. When I got up and looked in the mirror, I tell myself, wow, you look amazing today. Odds are a lot of days I still look like I've been hit by a freight train, but I just keep repeating the same thing to myself and I start to believe it. And so when I'm out with friends, rather than focusing on how tired I am or how the brain fog's creeping up on me and I can't even follow the conversation anymore, instead I go to something that I can feel. I'll think about the gratitude that I feel for being with my friends. Or when I'm out doing an activity I enjoy, rather than focusing on how tired I'm getting or how my body feels, instead I'll be talking to myself about how grateful I am to be out here, how relaxed I'm getting, how easy this all is. And I just keep convincing myself through repetition that that's what's happening. And lo and behold, my body starts to believe it. So the first 3 steps of creating this new identity, this new operating system, are awareness, embodiment, and thinking greater than you feel. But you're probably wondering, how do I bring this into my everyday life? But you see, that's the easy part. Now there's a part of your brain called the reticular activating system, the RAS. Now what this part of your brain does is it looks for patterns, cues. It filters your awareness. Because there's so much information coming in on a daily basis, our brain has to filter most of that out, and it looks for just the important bits. The RAS is what's responsible for that. So the way to train this new identity is how you talk to yourself on a daily basis. It's how you interact with the world. When something happens, what do you say to yourself? When there's a setback or failure, are you focused on how annoying this, how frustrating this is? Or do you focus on the opportunity to learn, grow, change, figure out where you went wrong? If you constantly think, I'm not safe, your RAS is going to be looking for more examples of that. If you say, my partner annoys me, you're going to be looking for more reasons why your partner annoys you. Or if you start saying, I'm safe, I'm excited about life, it's amazing how my partner always shows up for me, then you're going to start noticing more of that. Now, this isn't ignoring reality, but it's filtering what you want to see. Again, you can make yourself miserable or excited. The news is filled with all this horrible stuff because they know it's targeting the fear center in your brain. That's going to sell more papers. But the thing is, that's not an accurate representation of what the world is actually like. It's looking at it through a specific lens, and one that's not actually helpful for you. Yes, it's helpful to notice threats around you, but if you're constantly focused on them, if you're constantly focused on why you should be anxious or why things are going wrong, you're going to notice so much more of that, and your life is going to be so much more miserable. It's going to be tough to be happy, feel gratitude, feel joy. But if you start focusing on the joy, the connection, the love, the wonderful things around you, the incredible colors of life, the incredible connections you have, all of this, all of a sudden your RAS is going to be looking for more of that. And if you add more emotion to it, if you get more excited about it, if you have a small win and you celebrate it, like you literally raise your hands above your head and celebrate, your brain's going to think, wow, this is an important moment. I got to add more relevance to this. This is an important moment for me to remember in the future. And so the more emotion you add to whatever you're going through in life, whether that's fear or joy or sadness or excitement, whatever you add more emotion to, whatever you add more energy to, is what your brain is going to look for more. So you are the emotional coder. I think some people struggle to realize how much impact they have on their own subconscious mind. So even if you're doing something like relaxing, tell your mind that you're safe. It's okay to relax. So that way it's not focused on a future task. When you're focused on love and gratitude and joy, rather than waiting for the shoe to drop like I've done in the past, instead focus on those feelings. Emphasize how good they are. Things are okay. You're okay to feel more of this. And so your goal is to keep telling your brain that you're safe when you feel these good feelings. You're training your brain, your new operating system, one rep at a time. And that's how you program the new identity through which you move through the world. Start with awareness. Become aware of your subconscious beliefs and learn how to change them. Embody who you want to be. Embody who you want to become. And in doing so, think greater than you feel. Think that you can be more confident, more grateful, more joyous, more connected to life. Start attracting abundance into your life by doing this. And ultimately, your RS, the final step, is to focus on every little moment in your life is a training ground for your brain. And however you decide to code it is what you're going to get more of. So often we feel like change is impossible. We try all these different tricks and trends, and nothing seems to work. But these 4 steps give you a framework for how to make meaningful, lasting change. And when we do so, when we change ourselves, we help change the world. We help change other people's nervous systems. We help change their lives by becoming better versions of ourselves. So thanks for coming today. If you want to learn more about this, check out the blog at yourgoldenbuddha.com. We talked about all this in the last couple months of blog posts. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you next month.